Artificial love, we just make it up, 'cause reality will never be good enough. And even if it was, we just mess it up, 'cause we already lost. I don't wanna spend another day without you, babe, without you, babe. Astro. I just wanna love you, just wanna love you forever and ever. Know that you're everything you know. Oh, I swear on my life I'll love you till I die. Till the end of time. I don't wanna spend another day without you, babe.
Then his hands descended, seeking the hem of her dress, sliding it from her shoulders. She gasped, her fingers tightening in his hair as she tugged at them. He groaned softly and detached himself from her. His eyes, dazed, met hers. His one hand rested on her shoulder, the other cupped her face as he stroked her cheeks softly, making her heart flutter. "What?" he asked, his voice hoarse and deep. Vine threw her head back on the pillow and pulled him onto her by circling her hands around his neck. "Not today. I'm tired. No, I'm exhausted. Don't have any energy." She sighed heavily and he chuckled softly, the sound vibrating against her skin, sending shivers through her. "Just want to sleep in your arms," she mumbled. He pulled back just enough to look at her, his hands resting on her either sides. He reached out and cradled the back of her head and kissed her forehead gently before taking her in his arms. "Good night," he murmured, pulling her closer, and she hummed, already half lost to sleep. He shook his head and closed his eyes, and slowly sleep took over him. Jungkook moved with restless urgency in the early morning, getting dressed. Vine watched him from the bed with bored expressions, still sprawled on her stomach. His eyes met hers in the mirror, filled with sadness. He sighed slowly and walked to her and sat on the bed. She turned her head away, a deliberate act to show that she is angry. He turned her face, forcing her to meet his gaze. "Vine, I'll try to come back as soon as possible. Is it important to go? Can't you skip it? You know, I was looking forward to this weekend. I had planned so many things, and now you're leaving." She huffed angrily, disappointment clear in her voice. "I'll make it up to you, I promise." He tried to soothe her, but she nodded dismissively. "Yes, I know how you'll make it up, by going on another stupid meeting on our next date." "Vine," he began, but she cut him off. "Just get out, go to your important meeting." She emphasized the word important and he sighed, sensing the increasing tension thick in the air. He leaned in and pressed a kiss to her temples, brushing her hair from her face. "Bye, take care, and I love you," he whispered, then walked out of the room after taking her last glance, while she bit her lower lip to control the smile threatening on her lips. It was evening. Vine was watering the plants in her garden when she heard some unusual sound. She turned around, but nothing looked out of the place. She shrugged it off and focused on the task at her hand, and that's when someone pressed a cloth on her mouth. She didn't even get the moment to thrash and struggle before darkness consumed her. The man smirked and carried her out of there secretly. Jungkook watched the man, who was getting bitten black and blue, but still, he smiled like a creep every time he looked at Jungkook. Jungkook raised his hand and his man stopped. He walked to the man and his one man clutched the creep's hair in a brutal grip, forcing his head up to face their boss. "It's better if you open your mouth, cause you're not getting out of here, and your boss will not save you, so why die alone? Take your boss with you too." Jungkook's voice was low and dangerous, but the man only smirked arrogantly. You are right. Someone else will also go with us, die painfully. Someone who is very precious for you. Jungkook's composure faltered just for a second before his eyes darkened, fist clenched. He knew who he was referring to. He stepped forward and grabbed the man's hair in a tight, bruising grip, enough to rip his scalp off. He leaned closer. His aura screamed danger, the danger that threatened your life. They know better what happens when someone touches my precious. The man cried in his hold, and Jungkook released him with a brutal jerk, sending him on the ground with the chair he was tied onto. The room echoed with his broken cries. You can do whatever you want with me, but the damage is already done, Jeon. Your most precious possession is already with him. Your wife, Jeon, your wife is gone. He laughed like a psycho. Jungkook's face visibly paled. He kicked the man brutally, handing him to his man. He walked out, thrusting his phone out, calling Ryan, but no answer. He called on the landline. Still, no one answered. He ran a hand over his face and called Ryan again and got into his car. Pick up the phone, goddammit. He screamed, slamming his hand on the steering wheel. He pressed on the gas pedal aggressively. The car lunged forward as he drove like a beast towards the mansion. When he reached the mansion, he threw the door open and jumped out of the car, barely closing the door behind before he ran into the mansion. And seeing the scene in front of his eyes, his heart thudded in horror. The guards on the gate were lying on the ground. He ran inside, and everyone, either they were unconscious or dead. He shouted her name, searching for her frantically in the whole mansion, and soon his men followed him behind, but she was nowhere. He was on the verge of tears, his phone ringing continuously, which was abandoned on the sofa. His eyes lit up, catching Ryan's name flickering on the screen. He picked it up immediately. Ryan, where are you? Do you know how much? This much love for one girl. Jungkook recognized the voice instantly. His hands clenched the phone tightly. Marco, where is my wife? Don't be a coward. If you want a fight, fight openly. Don't play cheap. Marco laughed manically on the other end. Oh no, let me play cheap. If I can get you on your knees by playing cheap, I'm happy to be called cheap. Marco, what do you want? He growled angrily, the rage burning in him. Now we came on the real thing. What I want, Jungkook? He asked, feigning innocence. And Jungkook barely controlled himself from smashing the phone on the floor. I want the new shipment, the foreign one. Done. Now tell me, where is my wife? Oh, easy John, easy. That's not it. Back out from the Eclipse project. I want it. You think you can get away after all this? Oh, I don't think I'll get away after everything. Watch me. Done. And before he could complete, someone snatched the phone. The sound of a brutal punch. Then the sudden commotion came from the other side, and then came Yuan's voice. Boss, we got him. It's the location in the outskirts of the city. I have sent you the location. Jungkook set the location on the map and drove to the place. Jungkook reached the location and found his men dragging Marco outside. His eyes searched all around for one particular person, but didn't find her. Where is Ryan? Boss, we are finding her. She is somewhere in the building, and he is not opening his mouth. Yuan gestured to the bruised and battered Marco. Jungkook strode towards him and kicked him in the stomach, sending him sprawling on the ground. He grabbed his leg and dragged him towards his car, opened the door and pulled out the screwdriver. He knelt, holding Marco's hair tightly, forced him to look up. Marco screamed in horror, seeing the screwdriver just an inch away from his eyes. He thrashed like a fish out of water, but Jungkook held him, his grip unyielding. "Tell me, where is Vian? Otherwise, you won't be able to see anything." She's in the lift." Jungkook's gaze snapped to his man. They ran inside while he held that bastard tightly. After a minute, which felt like an eternity, he heard, "Boss, the lift is not opening, but ma'am is inside." Jungkook looked at Marco and stabbed the screwdriver into his eyes, causing him to cry out loud. He kicked him last time and ran inside. Just as he reached there, he heard her faint cries. Everyone backed away. He walked to the lift door, which was stuck on the second floor, his man working relentlessly to fix the problem. "Vian," he called softly, his voice raw, and she cried, Jungkook, please, open it. I can't breathe." She cried, and his heart clenched, hearing her broken voice. "Vian, don't panic. I'm here. Nothing will happen to you. We are opening it. Stop crying." But she only cried more. "Vian, please stop crying. I'm here." After a long 20 minutes, which felt like an eternity, the door to the lift cracked open, and just when the door opened, Vian scrambled to her feet and threw herself into his arms, and he held her just as tightly, his arms wrapped around her protectively. "Jungkook," she whispered, and he breathed in relief. As soon as she was in his arms, he kissed her head, and she clung to him just as tightly. But then her grip on him loosened, and he frowned when he felt her all weight on him. "Vian," he caught her in time. He cradled her head and tapped her face gently. "Vian, open your eyes. I'm sorry for being late." He lifted her fragile figure in his arms and walked out of there. He stroked her hairs gently, wiping the traces of tears from her pale cheeks. He sat beside her, and doctor was checking her. He held her hand in his, fingers intertwined. He looked at the doctor when she placed her stethoscope down. "She's going to be fine, but I think she's pregnant. But without test, we cannot be sure. Take her for the test when she is fine. I have written the prescription. Give them on time. I shall take my leave now." Jungkook only nodded. The doctor's words echoed in his mind. A mix of emotions swirls within him. He looked at her. His fingers tightened around her hand. He leaned down and kissed her forehead before he slipped inside the covers and pulled her into his arms, one hand around her waist, the other under her head as he held her securely. He felt the sudden urge to hide her in his arms. Today's incident had scared him. Only he knows how he kept his calm when he didn't find her, when he got to know she got kidnapped. God knows what he'd do if something had happened to her and their unborn. He shook the unwanted thoughts before they get more darker. He glanced at her, sleeping peacefully in his arms. He placed a kiss on her hair and pulled her closer before closing his eyes. As the night wore on, he drifted off to sleep. It was midnight when Vian stared in his arms. Her eyes fluttered open. It was dark. She sat up suddenly, her eyes wide with panic. But then, she saw the arms wrapped around her waist. Her eyes flickered to Jungkook, and she sighed in relief. She hugged him tightly, almost suffocating him, causing him to wake up. Her breathing still labored against his skin. He looked at her in concern. He pulled away and cupped her face gently. "Vian, what happened?" But instead of answering, Vian threw her arms around him, holding him tightly. Jungkook's eyes snapped open fully, and he wrapped his arms around her. it. She's scared. I'm sorry. Because of me, you had to go through it, he murmured, his voice filled with regret. But Vine shook her head against his shoulder. She pulled back slightly, just enough to look at him, her eyes filled with unshed tears. No, Jungkook, it's not your fault. And it's you who saved me, so don't talk like this. And I know you'll always protect me. Always, even at the cost of my life. He murmured and pulled her in a gentle hug, but Vine pulled away, a small smile tugged at her lips as she took his hand and placed it on her belly. She smiled at him and Jungkook felt his heart dropped. We are having a baby, Jungkook. A baby. Can you believe it? He just stared at her, feeling a mix of emotions swirling inside him, and for a moment, all he could do was stare at her, his heart swelled with happiness. He parted his lips to say something, but every time he fell short on words to express himself. At the end, he just hugged her tightly, and she laughed softly. I'm so much happy. I've never been this happy before. Thank you, Vine. Thank you for this beautiful gift. He whispered and pecked her lips, but Vine pulled him in a kiss by grabbing his nape, and Jungkook gave in. The moment her lips touched his, he melted into her touch. We love you, Vine whispered after pulling away from the kiss, and rested her forehead against his. I love you more, my world.